snap it, and it's Trey Burton who throws caught. Foles, touchdown.
Here he goes. It's Hester. Inside the 30. Hester's going to take it all the way for a touchdown.
Fields stumbling, trying to cut it back. Justin Fields making magic happen. There goes Fields. Touchdown!
Hurts on first down, fires downfield. It's Deshaun Jackson back in the lineup. This is the last 7 games, and he will take it 81 yards. A somersault into the end zone. His first touchdown of the season.
You're listening to The Pigskin Project, the world's #1 football podcast. Now, with more insights on all things football, here are your hosts, Ben Hansen and Ryan Matthews.
So Ben Hansen, not Ryan Matthews. We have Matt Hartman with us. And honestly, my favorite thing, Matt, is always the different little things that you have underneath where we put our tags. You know, Texas is back, or Saints fan or something, and now it's co-host and QB Guru. We'll get into the QB Guru a little bit later in the pod. But Ryan is out of town. He is celebrating an anniversary. Won't go too much into detail on that, but congratulations to him and his girlfriend. But Matt is stepping in for us this week. Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I feel like at this point, do I get a raise? The amount of times I've stepped in the last month. I'm happy. I'm happy to be here. It's fun to talk ball. I always say it every time I'm on here. Just it's a blast to talk ball. So I'm always going to step in when needed.
Yes, we consistently joke at this point you were an honorary member of the podcast at this point just because you're on so much. But we'll get right into it, guys, and we will start off with weekly news.
Ryan and Ben bring you weekly news.
So the big news that everyone has been talking about is Devontae Adams and his hurt hamstring. Devontae Adams is actually he's kind of I don't know if he's necessarily requested out, but the Raiders are looking to trade him. He wants out. I don't think there's ever been a formal request. But the big firestorm recently has kind of been people trying to figure out where he's going to go. Again, I would be surprised if this is not, I think this is probably going to happen at the deadline. I'd be shocked if it happens any sooner. But give your early predictions. Where do you think he's going to go and your thoughts on the situation?
The Jets make the most sense. I feel like that's
right.
Probably the betting favorite. It was interesting to see that the Jets and the Saints were his top of choices when it's Aaron Rodgers and Derek Carr. So it sounds like Devontae Adams got the deal, and he just wants to play with his friends. He just wants to get the ball thrown to him by guys he likes, by guys he knows. They said the Chiefs wasn't an option, I think Schefter said. So I'm interested in it. I'm a fan of one of the teams he mentioned. So if I've said it, if the Saints invest future assets into this season, I will be a little bummed. But it's Devontae Adams on your football team, so I would welcome it with open arms if it happened. But I'm not getting my hopes up at all.
No, you probably shouldn't. I guess he just has a man crush on Derek Carr. He just wants to play with Derek Carr.
This is his college best friend.
College.
Those friendships never go away.
Yeah, exactly. Some injuries this week. Rashid Rice is hurt. With what and for how long? To be determined. When he had gotten hurt by Pat Mahomes, no less. It was originally reported as an ACL tear. He was going to be out for the entire season. But yesterday and then into today, there have been reports that maybe it won't be as bad. He could be back as soon as the end of this month. That's all we have, which kind of hurts in terms of fantasy perspective. I've already dropped him, but I know you're still lingering with him, and you may not drop him, and it's gonna suck if he. Well, I hope he comes back, but for fantasy purposes, it's gonna suck for my team if I drop him and he comes back. So
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is if, like, the way they broadcasted it, you know, he got carted off, and Andy Reid is asked before halftime, like, what do you think? And he's going, it's bad. It ain't good. I'm not telling you what it is, but it ain't good. So everyone just goes worst case scenario.
Yeah.
If he's even out till January, like Hollywood Brown is, this could save the three-peat. You know what I'm saying? Like, this was the guy that Mahomes was depending on with how Kelsey was performing. And Kelsey stepped up in the Chargers game, and Worthy has the big catch, and they limped through a good Chargers team on the back of the defense, too. Didn't score in the second half, but that was the biggest thing. If it's not worst case scenario and he can be back at some point, whenever that is, that's huge for Kansas City, because he was the complete engine of this entire offense for Mahomes. And if they lost him for the season, they would have been scrambling for an Adams or an Amari Cooper. They would have been scrambling. And I think if he's not out for foreseeable future, then they don't have to scramble.
Yes, exactly. And then you had brought up a really interesting point. If he is out for at least an extended period of time, I wonder if they go out and decide to make a move for an Amari Cooper or something like that. For Amari Cooper, I hope so. Hopefully he's not stuck in Cleveland for the entire year. Lord knows at this point how bad the Browns have been and the whole Deshaun Watson situation, which I will not get too deep into.
He got an 80-yard touchdown taken away against the Raiders by like a ticky-tack holding call. So I know a man of Amari Cooper at 30 years old running that hard for 80 yards and it coming all the way back. That was not fun for him.
No, it was not. In other injury related news, CMC actually has double Achilles tendonitis. So we originally thought it was just going to be in one leg, but it's actually in both. It is worse in that one leg. But at this point, it seems by next week we're just going to figure out that he has no Achilles tendon at all. Like, it seems like the week by week basis, like, it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And if you're the Niners, at what point do you just say, like, don't even play, like, the entire regular season? Because I know some people are like, oh, he might be back by week 10, 11, or 12. But at a certain point, you're just like, no. Like, we are a good enough squad. If we get the 4th seed even, we can make a run as long as you are fully healthy. I just hope we get to see him, at least a little bit this season, because when he is healthy, he's the best football player in the world outside of Pat Mahomes.
Yeah.
So, interesting stuff. So,
whenever you see a guy go to Germany for extra looks, it's always it's always a red alarm bell in your head.
Yes, I saw people joking on Twitter that this is just the COVID doctors, and that's why you had to go to Germany, because it's all the COVID Zoom doctors. But DeMarcus Lawrence is also on IR, so he's going to be at least out for 4 weeks. And then the last bit of news I got for you guys is Von Miller is suspended for 4 weeks for personal conduct issues. It wasn't reported what for, but people speculate that it was from an incident that had occurred back in November. Not going to really dig too deep into that. If you guys are interested in what occurred back in November, go ahead and look it up. But we try to avoid talking about that kind of stuff here on the podcast. Did I miss anything, Matt?
No, I think there's some little things. The Colts got super banged up. Anthony Richardson got hurt, and I think Jonathan Taylor has a high ankle sprain or a mid-high ankle sprain. I don't know. I'm not an ankle sprain doctor, but I know both of those guys are in jeopardy to miss this week. And if the Colts miss this week, more Joe Flacco, I guess. Comeback player of the year, back-to-back years.
Back-to-back years. I mean, Joe Flacco actually had that offense, looking good. I mean, I love it. I
No
love AR,
shock.
and I think he'll put it together. But no shock. Again, he's a veteran guy. I mean, he's literally just getting the ball where it needs to go. He's not doing anything special, but that's all. That's all Shane wants. He has an offense. He needs a quarterback that can get the ball where it needs to go. But we'll dig into this past week of football, starting with Thursday night. The Cowboys versus the Giants. The Cowboys ended up winning 20-15. The Giants the last few weeks have actually shown some life compared to the first 2 weeks of the season where they looked lifeless. And maybe the Cowboys are not as much of frauds as we think. Ryan is convinced that they are still frauds. That is a big talking point he had put in the notes he wanted me to tell you guys. He made it a point for me to tell you guys that the Cowboys are still absolutely frauds. But I know I talk trash about it. I don't say talk trash, but I had some skepticism about Neighbors the last couple weeks. But
Nope.
I mean, that went out. That went out the window, man.
Malik Neighbors, I had him in the draft. It was I had the controversial opinion of having him next to Marv, where most people kind of had him tiered off with Adunze. I thought Neighbors was that spectacular with the body control and just overall route running prowess. We're officially at the point with the Giants where, this whole engine of their offense is Malik Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson. It's awkward. And
and Devin Singletary.
And he was awful. He was awful against the Cowboys. And so that was the thing that gave me life with the Cowboys. Maybe I'm not going to call them frauds like Ryan did. I thought their run defense was real. And of course we leave that game going. Micah Parsons has an ankle sprain. DeMarcus Lawrence is going to go to IR. Of course it can't go up for the Cowboys at this point, but the offense is still the offense, and hopefully they can scrape by with what they have if those guys are going to miss time. But I liked what I saw from both teams. It was an ugly football game, but both teams did what they were supposed to do. The Giants are supposed to just feed Malik Neighbors until he can't walk, which sucks for Malik Neighbors, but we understood that was kind of the way it was going to go, and then the Cowboys win the game inevitably. But Brandon Aubrey missed a field goal. That was the highlight of the game.
He's actually human. He's not a robot. I saw a stat that he would have been the leading, or he was would have been wide receiver 2, RB3, tight end 1.
Tight end 1 was the biggest one.
Well, the tight end position this year as a whole has been interesting. We'll say that. On to the next game. Bengals versus Panthers. The Bengals, they won, but the Panthers are actually showing some life. And now it gets into this really tricky situation. And this really tricky situation with what do you do with Bryce Young? And I don't think I have talked to you much about that. Do you just try to trade him for whatever you can get out of him and then maybe draft a quarterback in this class? And again, we'll go over the quarterback draft class, at least the top 5 here in this episode. But now they're stuck in a pretty precarious situation there with Bryce Young. What do you do if you're the GM?
I think the minute that you benched him, you pronounced this dead, in my opinion. At that point, the learning from the sidelines, learning from Andy Dalton, things like that, I thought it was pronounced dead. But the way they're getting him involved on sidelines seems like there is a transition going to happen at some point. But I don't know when that's going to be. I don't know if it's Andy Dalton puts up 10 points and throw Bryce back to the Wolves. Or Andy Dalton could come off a monster week and they just say, Bryce is ready to go back in. It's so many things. It's so awkward. They got trade offers right after the benching and didn't want to. So it's I don't know at what point he is at an all-time low in terms of, market value. So of course you're not going to trade him then. If you're not willing to just be done with it. So I don't think they're done. I thought they were done the minute they, benched him, but it seems like there's a plan in place that they're going to bring him back in, but is Andy Dalton too good to get benched? I don't know.
I mean, at this point, if you're the Panthers, he's the only thing, giving you hope that if you do, I don't say bench, but if you do take Dalton back out and you throw Bryce Young back in, and he
and
continues,
it looks as abysmal, yeah. Because
then
it wasn't
you're
just
really
bad.
stuck.
It was like Jamarcus Russell, even worse bad. It was as bad as physically possible, and Andy Dalton comes in, and you see Deontay Johnson instantly. You see a guy like Xavier Legette instantly. Chuba Hubbard is running like a madman while Jonathan Brooks is hurt. Like, they're showing what they did in the offseason, and it's proving to work. It's just Bryce Young is short and can't operate. Like, it's just at that point, do we just say he's an outlier, it didn't work, let's sell our stock? And I thought they were going to, but it seems like they don't want to. I don't know. And maybe it's because the draft class this year, in terms of quarterback, isn't as strong, and guys like Travis Hunter and Tedero McMillan and guys like that are on the board that they will likely pick in the top 3, but I don't know. It's a sticky situation. It's weird.
Yes. And obviously we don't root for injuries. We don't do any of that. But if you're the Panthers, the best case scenario is, at least in my opinion, Andy Dalton gets turf toe and is out for a game, and then you throw Bryce Young in and he looks as good or, at least close to what Andy Dalton did. Because again, if you take Andy Dalton out and he looks bad, then you are really, really screwed. But we'll get into your game and your favorite team. The Saints sadly lost 24-26 against the Falcons. And the Falcons are slowly, and probably has much to do with week 2. But for me, Falcons are slowly becoming one of my least favorite teams, not because of anything they've done in particular. I just don't like the Falcons. But do you watch this game, obviously. What are your opinions on this one?
Yeah, my immediate takeaway from this game was, well, it looked better. I didn't come I came away pissed because a defensive PI sets them up for a game-winning kick from Younghoe Koo. But overall, I was like, this team had 3 offensive touchdowns compared to their 0. You have a fluky muff punt by Rashid Shaheed is trying to field a punt inside his own 5, just ridiculous. And then a kind of bubble screen sidearm by Derek Carr gets tipped right to Troy Anderson, and it's a pick 6. Those were their 2 touchdowns. And they still needed a walk-off 60-yard kick to win the game. I still feel good about the Saints. The Saints were missing Eric McCoy, their starting center, Cesar Ruiz, their starting guard. Demario Davis missed his first game ever besides a COVID game in 2020. It just, so many pieces were out for the Saints, where the Falcons were relatively healthy outside of their tackle, McGarry. I came away we're both 2-2, but I feel better about my team than their team. So I was upset for a few hours because natural state of a fan, but overall, I came away going, it's week 4. We're gonna get this team again. We're gonna get them on our team, on our terms in the Superdome. I'm fine. But also the Falcons, man, that offense is just, I don't know.
Kirk was supposed to come in and fix that, but it just
it was supposed to be this, well-oiled machine, it seemed like, and overall, they didn't get in the end zone. They didn't even get in the red zone, if I remember correctly. It was abysmal offense that they get 2 fluky plays and win the game. It happens. It's football.
Yeah, no. Again, Kirk was supposed to get in there with Zach Robinson. It was supposed to change things. And this Falcons, offense was an offense that everyone was buying stock into. Like you were saying, it just has not looked good for them. Literally outside of that last drive in the Eagles game, which, of course, that's when they looked good.
This was honestly, I was favorite of the division, too. That's the thing that jars me. Is I had that going into the season, was this team's runaway favorite according to the market. The market is so afraid to lose money on the Falcons, where I see all three of these teams, the Buccaneers, the Falcons, and the Saints, all together, and somehow, I mean, I was wrong. The Bucs look the best by far of the three.
Oh yeah.
And then the Falcons look the worst to me personally. So it's weird. I don't know.
Yes, I agree. And you guys did with the Mario out, you guys did a way better job shutting down Bijan than I thought. I mean, Bijan did not have
Nothing.
anything going. It was weird, man. And Ryan says that Saints fans, what did he say about this? He said Saints fans shouldn't panic until after next week. So he said, we'll see how they look after next week when you guys – oh, excuse me. But he said wait till after next week, which doesn't necessarily make any sense to me because you guys are playing, the
if we play one score on Monday Night Football against the defending champs, I don't care who's playing on their side of the ball. That defense is that good. If we can play within one possession and feel like we belong with that team, I'm going to feel great because this division, again, will still be winnable tomorrow and the next day until we face the Buccaneers, which I think is the week after. So if we lose the next two, I will be nervous, but
Rattler time. Rattler time.
Yes.
Jags versus Texans. Dude, I had said it going into the season. As much as it hurt me to say, Doug Peterson was going to be the first coach to be fired, and it sure looks like it. The Texans, at one point, were down in the game, but they ended up winning 24-20. I was actually able to get the Texans at plus money on that last drive, which was absolutely awesome. Ryan says Dougie P is going to be fired, and Trevor Lawrence looks mid despite his career stats. I know you've kind of been a Trevor Lawrence
I am
supporter throughout the entire process. Do you have anything that you want to say for yourself at this point?
It's bad. It seemed like when he signed that contract, I feel like all of us believed that he could go up that another level. I think when guys get that contract, Jordan Love got the contract, things like that. I think both of those guys signed it with the intention of we still have another gear to get to. And for Trevor, maybe it's not true. Maybe he's just 12 to 15. And that sucks at that contract. It really does.
Yeah.
But overall, the offensive staff looks like checked out. Like
that was
if
as
you told
the Eagles
me coming into the year, Brian Thomas Jr. would look like this, and they're 0-4. I'd be looking at you stunned. Like this kind of goes back to the Bills game more than the Texans game, but like just overall, like it just I don't know. Like what was it? I think they had a 4th and goal stop up by 3 in the fourth quarter that could have sealed the game, and they don't get it. Like it's just I don't know. Bless you.
Thank you. No, it goes back to, like, as an Eagles fan, and I don't know what it is about Doug Peterson, but he is going to ride with his guy until he gets fired, and now he's proving it a second time. I do not know why he has not cut ties with Press Taylor. That was his issue in Philadelphia. He loves Press Taylor. He's going to let Press Taylor continue to call that offense. That's what got him fired from Philadelphia. And it looks like that's what's going to get him fired here in Jacksonville. He's going to ride with his guy, and I mean, applaud for that. But I mean, at a certain point, you got to do what's best for your career, man. And it is not Press Taylor.
Yeah.
Going on to the next game, Broncos versus Jets.
Can I get just a little Texans thing? Bobby Slowick, you got to adapt when Joe Mixon isn't in the game. Because I heard a stat the other day that since week one, they were unreal efficiency-wise with Joe Mixon.
Yes.
Since then, they are dead last in rushing success rate. That is awful. They're worse than the Panthers. They're worse than the Raiders, who are led by Zamir White. They are the worst rushing offense since week one. They got to figure this out. I don't know if it's just we drop Mixon back in and it'll be working, but I think they just got to... The motions, I feel like they're motioning to motion. Just overall, like, it needs to have a purpose. You need to do everything with the intent of, like, this is going to set up CJ down the line, and then CJ's going to set up this because they're so afraid of him. Like, I don't know. I have stock in the Texans, so I watch this game. I care about this team. But yeah, that was my biggest thing. I know you're a Bobby guy, so I just wanted to toss that out just as a little.
Yeah. Yes. I love Bobby, but yeah, it's definitely been a different offense without Joe. But I wonder how much of that has to do with kind of Damian Pierce and Cam Akers also not being.
Yeah, Damian Pierce hasn't even played. It's Cam Akers and Dare Uungabalale.
Yes.
I definitely butchered that, but just
You got
overall,
close.
if you want to blame it on the talent of the running back position, fine. If Joe Mixon comes back and they look wondrous, then I'll eat my words and say, listen, it's just a personnel thing. But if Mixon comes back and we're seeing him run the ball 20 times for 60 yards, then we're gonna have that issue going. You guys got to lean into CJ a little bit more.
Yeah, no, I agree. Go to the next game, the Broncos versus Jets, in probably what was the worst game of the entire slate this past weekend. The Broncos end up winning 10-9, and they end up winning in a game where I almost said Zach Wilson, in a game in which Bo Nix threw for 60 passing yards. Yeah, right. In a game in which Bo Nix only threw for 60 passing yards, and the Jets still managed to lose that game. The big thing for me, man, that is standing out is I don't know what is going on between A-Rod and Garrett Wilson, but they are not on the same page. And everyone went into the season saying, like, this is going to be the year that Garrett Wilson breaks out. He has a good quarterback for the entire season, hopefully, and he's going to look good this year. And thus far, through first 4 games, that connection has not been there. I'm going to let you talk about that. I'm going to step away so I can blow my nose here.
Yeah, first of all, like, Bo Nix was the first quarterback ever to attempt more than equal or more than 25 passes and have 60 or less passing yards and win the game. That's it. Like, think about what I just said. He threw the ball 25 times and had 60 passing yards, and they won the football game. That's outstanding. But tip of the cap to the Broncos, Vance Joseph, their defensive coordinator, he is, if I die, I die. They blitzed Rodgers all game long, and they made him look. The common phrase with Rodgers now is, oh, he looks 10 years younger. He looked 10 years older on MetLife turf, and just overall they didn't get in the end zone. They had a goal to go on 1st and goal, didn't get in. They missed a 50-yard field goal to win the game. This offense isn't what we expected it to be, but at the same time, didn't we expect it to be this? I mean, it's Nathaniel Hackett calling play. It's just throw it back to 2021 with Rodgers minus LaFleur, who is one of the best coaches in the NFL. So it was good defense if you like defense, but overall, like, the Jets still have a ways to go to catch up to the Bills, and even then, the Bills got embarrassed. So it's that's just a more of an indictment on the Jets right now. So I don't have many closing thoughts.
Many
like
thoughts,
Garrett Wilson, maybe Garrett Wilson isn't as good. Here's a question. Here's a question. What New York's receiver would you rather have tomorrow? I'm starting a franchise Garrett Wilson or Malik Neighbors. Yeah, and by far. And so it's just maybe Garrett Wilson, again, the Trevor Lawrence conversation, maybe he's just not going to go up that extra level. Maybe he's just an 1,100, 1,200 yard receiver. He's not a complete engine of your offense in the pass game. And we kind of got to just deal with that,
Well, and the hope for them was if Garrett Wilson was not going to show up on offense the way that we would have all hoped and expected him to do, you could at least have turned around and handed the ball off to Brees. And I don't know what had happened to him the last 2 games, but that has just not been there. I love Brees, and I do think it's going to get better as the season progresses. But even Brees Hall in that offense has not lived up to the hype that everyone would have. I mean, I picked Breece Hall to win Offensive Player of the Year. And right now, that sure as heck is not going to happen. It's just everything. As you said, we should have all known with Hackett calling the plays. Moving on to LaFleur, the guy who you just talked about, they ended up losing the game. Jordan Love came back. He threw 3 interceptions, 3 touchdowns, though. But they lost the Vikings 31-29 in a game that was actually very fun to watch. But this Vikings team, man, they are legit. I mean, they were a fun team. They had shocked everyone through, the first 3 games, and the buzz started to really pick up after last week when they had beat the Texans. But when you can go into Lambeau and beat the Packers with a relatively healthy Jordan Love, and force him to even throw 3 interceptions in this game, I'm not personally a Brian Flores guy in terms of being a head coach, because of everything that had happened there in Miami with him and Tua and whatnot. But I mean, Brian Flores is maybe the best defensive coordinator in all of football right now. It is, it's fun, man. This Vikings team is real, and a thing that people haven't talked about yet, and it's not a conversation that they have to have right now, because again, it's only 4 weeks into the season. But if this team continues to look this good, then you're going to get yourself in a really tough situation, because Sam Darnold is only on a 1-year contract. And do you hope that JJ steps in and looks that good? Or do you bite the bullet and sign Sam Darnold to, a 2-3 year contract extension and ride with him? And people forget that, Sam is relatively young. Sam is younger than Joe Burrow. So if you really want to go that route, I'm not saying that's a route they should go down or should not go down, they could, in theory, ride with Sam Darnold for the next 8 years. So it's going to be an interesting situation that develops across the rest of the season and the rest of kind of the offseason. I'm interested to see where that ends up going.
Yeah, speaking on that, if this team continues on this trend and they win 11 games, win a division, whatever, I think they should sign Sam Darnold. And you put J.J. McCarthy on the market around draft time, and you put these guys next to him who are going to get drafted and say, listen, you want J.J. McCarthy? He's here. I'm not saying you got to give us the number 1 overall pick, but hey, a first rounder for J.J., we're not going to use him. Sam Darnold is our guy. We just committed money to him. It's definitely going to be one of the more interesting things to follow, because this Vikings team, I described them, they're a buzzsaw. This game, It looked close on the scoreboard. They were up 28-0. Sam Darnold had one of the best throws I've ever seen to Justin Jefferson. Just overall, it is clicking in an unreal way. Brian Flores, he's going to get beat. They're going to lose a game at some point. They can't go 17-0. But he makes you earn every single yard. And one of Jordan Love's throws that were intercepted, I watched it back, and I'm just yeah, you made the right decision. That guy just made a hell of a play. It's just one of those things that, all these guys are so versatile in their roles that they can do anything and do everything, that they're just flying around the football field, and it feels like there's 12 on the field, when in reality there's only 11, because you're getting these sim pressures. You're getting 5 at you. You're getting 3 at you. You're sometimes getting 7 at you. It's just, he mixes it up so well. He is a fantastic defensive play caller. I always go back to that Miami against Baltimore game, Thursday Night Football, one of his last games against Lamar. Lamar was coming off MVP, whatever. Lamar was one of the hottest players in the... He just zero blitzed him every time. We're going to run everything out of cover 0 look, and he's never going to know what is coming. And he looked like a deer in headlights, one of the best players in the entire game. So tip to Brian Flores, all he needed was his guys to just put together. But this is awesome for the Vikings. It really is.
Oh yeah, for Vikings fans, I'm excited, and we'll get into the JJ conversation with this draft class. I have an interesting question to ask you when we go over that. Colts versus Steelers in a game that we had kind of touched on earlier. The Colts ended up winning this game with Joe Flacco for the majority of it. AR got hurt and then came in and then got hurt. And it was kind of a weird situation, but they avoided major injury with him, which is good. Ryan has a lot of strong opinions on this game as well. Ryan's saying that this is the same exact stuff, and I don't know. I'm still developing my thoughts on this one, but he's saying this is the same exact stuff that Fields was like in Chicago, and he looks the exact same quarterback that he's looked like in Chicago. It just isn't as bad because he's not in a Bears uniform. And that's a point that Ryan kind of has touched on, I would say, numerous times throughout the last couple of years, is that players look worse in a Bears uniform, even if they look the same exact from the team that they've come from to the team that they're going to. It just so happens to look worse in a Bears uniform because they're in a Bears uniform. That's kind of what Ryan says. But I think a majority of it just has to do with, like, the Steelers actually have a good coaching staff and are putting him in a better situation than what, like, Eberflus or Nagy ever had for him. But, yeah, the Steelers actually had finally lost a game. But, again, Shane Steichen is showing what his system can actually do when he has a quarterback that can get the ball out to the correct person on time. So it's interesting. Comeback player of the year, playing comeback player of the year football. So
yeah, I mean, the Fields thing, if you watch just this game with the Colts, then yeah, you're going to form that opinion. But he's on the lowest time to throw of his career. That's been my biggest issue with him is he holds on, pats the ball, and will take sacks. He's only been sacked 10 times, so, I mean, 2.5 times is not fun for in 4 games, but just overall, or 1.5 times, that's better. But, like, just overall, I think they're doing the right thing keeping him in, because I don't know, that got announced. Maybe that we should have put that in weekly news, but he's still the starter. He should be the starter. He gives you upside where Russ doesn't, in my opinion. So they're going to run into these games. The Steelers always do it. They win the rock fights. They win these just ugly football games, but sometimes the other team gets out to a 20-point lead. They can't overcome it because they don't have the quarterback, and Fields is not expected to be the quarterback to overcome that.
No.
It just happened. He made the scoreboard look better, got a lot of fantasy points, but overall, like, if you just watch this game, then yeah, I understand that opinion. But just overall, he's looked better. They're going to continue to win football games, and if Fields is the same old quarterback in the Bears and Dallas is frauds, I mean, Sunday Night Football is going to be interesting interesting watch for Ryan.
I didn't even think about that. Bears, they won a football game against the Rams. Of course, the first game that Ryan did not pick the Bears to win, the Bears won. Ryan thinks that this defense, and I agree with him on this point, this defense is going to save you against bad teams. So this, in bad games against bad teams, this defense is going to save you. It's just a matter of if Caleb can actually
push you over the finish line. Just push me over the finish line. That's all I'm asking.
Exactly. And right now, this is going to be, he should hopefully look good. Their next 5 opponents is going to be the Panthers, who ranked 29th in secondary, the Jags, who ranked 30th, the Commanders, who ranked 32nd. No surprise there. Cardinals at 29, and the Patriots at 26. I think that Patriots number might be a little misleading. That Patriots defense is, me and you have talked about it. It's still a very, very good defense. But Ryan really thinks that this team has the opportunity to go into the bye week at 4-2, and then going into divisional matchups at 6-3. And I think they do with that schedule. But like you were saying, it's just a matter of if this defense can continue to play as well as they've played, all you need Caleb to do is get the ball out. He does not have to be USC Caleb Williams where he's running around and making these crazy plays. He just has to get the ball out to the right guys like we're talking about in that Colts offense. And if he can do that and just kind of push you over the finish line, this Bears team could actually look good, and then look to next year for Caleb to have this big breakout year that everyone had hoped to. Do you have any thoughts on this Bears team? Or the Rams?
Matthew Stafford played out of his mind. I'll say that. That's the only thing I have to say about the Rams. He was doing what Matthew Stafford did, just stood in the pocket and ripped the ball as hard as he could. Had fun. For the love of the game, Matthew Stafford, they'll never make me hate you. Kind of the quote of Matthew Stafford's career for me. But overall, I mean, you hit on it. If this defense continues to play like this and hold everybody under 20, if Caleb can just be the guy to push them over 20 points a game in his rookie season, like, keep that in mind. Like, this is not supposed to be perfect. I understand there's a guy in Washington who looks sunshine and rainbows. I get there was a guy last year in Houston who looked sunshine and rainbows. It's not always going to be. Like, we're in this offensive, like, just decline overall. Defenses are getting better. But just overall, I think that the schedule favors them. They're going to lose a game that you just pull your hair out, that they just don't have a shot from the beginning, just like the Colts game. It's going to happen, just as it happens to every football team. But overall, if they continue, if this defense continues to be this good, then it's a wrap.
Yeah. No. The interesting conversation, and you had mentioned the guy that I was going to talk about next year, and we'll jump there. We'll jump 2 games and jump to this one. The Commanders end up just absolutely blowing the Cardinals out of the water, 42-14, in a game in which Jane Daniels continues to look amazing and just looks by far the best quarterback in this draft class. And really the conversation all over social media right now is, did the Bears do it again? Did the Bears draft the wrong guy, just like they did? What was it in 2017 when they drafted Mitch over Pat Mahomes? I think people are jumping conclusions a little bit. Big X's and O's guy. He's having so much success in this Cliffs offense.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy. It's easy buttons, and his just overall ability to extend run plays and things like that. Like, the biggest thing with him was he is a good processor. He is a good downfield thrower. That's what they're leaning into. Like, and I know everyone says, well, it's that simple, just do that. But just overall, they're playing pretty bad defenses. I'll say that. Just like you listed the Cardinals on the Bears schedule, I'm pretty sure, but like, it's just, I don't know. Like, is he going to sustain 80 completion percentage the whole season? No. He's going to run into a brick wall at some point, and he might run into a brick wall this week because he's facing the Browns and Myles Garrett. But my biggest stunner is that offensive line looks legit. Brandon Coleman from TCU, I had day 3 easily. They took him like round 3. And I was like, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know much about this guy, but I've seen him. He's been a mauler. The offensive line has been wonders, and maybe it's because he's getting the ball out so fast, but just overall they're moving in the run game, things like that. It's fun to watch because the timely shot plays that they're hitting are so perfectly precise. He's seeing the field well, and it's all about, is he going to run into that brick wall and stop, or is he going to run through that damn brick wall? So that's the only thing we have left with Jaden Daniels to me. Like, other than that, it's been wondrous and so fun to watch. Makes me look like a moron, but just overall, like, I love Jaden Daniels. Like, I don't want, it's just, my draft opinions is all I have, but just,
Yes, and Ryan's been a big Cliff guy. Like, Ryan is like, he will die on the hill that he wants Cliff to be the next head coach for the Bears. And
I think that's maybe because of the USC thing last year.
USC factor, yes.
I think that's probably, but again, he's seeing what a rookie quarterback is doing with Cliff, and it's working, so I understand. But Caleb isn't the athlete Jaden or Kyler were, with in a Cliff scheme. So that's where I would run into issues with that. But just overall, they're leaning into what Jaden Daniels is good at, and he is being good at it. It's just at some point someone is going to throw a counter at him. Yeah. Someone's going to throw a counter at him, and he's got to fight back. And we haven't seen it yet.
Yes. Yep. I agree. Now getting into this Eagles game, the Eagles end up losing 33-16 to the Buccaneers. You had talked about it. The Buccaneers are by far and away, I think. Well, I don't say by far and away, but are definitely the best team in that division. And I did not expect the Eagles to win. Lane Johnson was out. A.J. Brown was out. Smitty was out. But from the get-go of this game, I ended up turning it off because I had to go to work anyways. But, yeah, the curiosity did not have this team ready. I said it after week 2 and say it again. Dude, I just want him gone. I am just sick of it. I want Kellen, just let Kellen take over the reins, see what he can do. And if Kellen looks great, Kellen, you can have the head coaching job. And if he does it, look somewhere else. As you had mentioned, big Bobby guy. But Nick Sirianni has this team playing like sloppy football. Like I have no clue what is going on. He should be fine. It won't happen, but we're in our bye week. And honestly, looking at the schedule in the beginning of the season, I was disappointed about the bye week, but it could not have come at a better time. And it won't happen, but I still am holding out hope that Jeffrey Lurie still fires him. Not going to happen, but it sure as heck should. And go to the Buck side. Like you were saying, I mean, Baker actually, to your dismay, actually might be a very, very good quarterback. Not that you don't like Baker, but he's that dude. He's that dude so far.
Yeah.
So, do you have any thoughts?
No, I mean, just one. The Eagles should never look outmatched against the Bucks, and they always do. And it's just a Todd Bowles thing at this point. Like, is he just Jalen Hurts' boogeyman? He just knows him. He just gets him, and that's we write it off. Like that. If you're an Eagles fan, that's what you want to hear. Like, just write it off. Schedule loss. We were going into the bye. We need AJ healthy. Things like that. But it sucks to lose a game like that because feeling outmatched with this amount of talent has to be agonizing, especially when you have the, you don't like the coach, I don't like the coach and things like that. So it's one of those things, feeling outmatched with the amount of talent they have is a problem, but they're going to get healthier. It's going to get better than this. You know what I'm saying? It's not like they were fully healthy. You have something to lean on and go, we're getting our 2 top receivers back. Like Dallas Goedert isn't going to be a target funnel for Jalen Hurts next week or the week after. Thank you. Yeah. But like that's it. And Baker's a guy. Baker's a guy. That throw he had to Evans, just an absolute seed in a tight window. And you just I sat up and I was just like, damn, Baker, you're really making it hard for me to hate you now. If you're going to make that throw and stand in the pocket and deliver that's to my core what I love in a quarterback, just standing in the pocket and ripping a seed over a seam.
Yep.
And he's doing it at an excellent level. I did not give Liam Cohen and this offense enough credit because they have been outstanding. Just bar none, outstanding.
Yes, no, they've been great. The last thing I can't believe I didn't touch on it the first time talking through. Man, I want Darius Slay gone. I am so sick of Darius Slay already, dude. I don't care if it's for a 7th round pick at this point. He is making me so frustrated. He's not looking good. And there's a subsection of Eagles fans that are saying he's not looking very good because it's the Fangio defense and he's playing back and that's how the DBs are supposed to look and whatnot. But for him to then go on Micah Parsons' podcast, who is the Cowboys' best player,
Dallas Cowboy,
rivals, and then proceed to make fun of another starter on the secondary, nonetheless, a group of guys that you would hope would be close-knit, and for him to go on that podcast and make fun of him, to me, is absolutely unacceptable. when have you ever seen something like that? It does not happen, and I don't know what's going to happen, but right now there's risks that is getting created in this locker room, and Darius Slay is a big part of that. And as someone who's viewed as this veteran leader, this captain and whatnot, it is becoming an issue. And
Step up, brother.
Yeah, exactly, step up. And you had said, never mind. Moving on to the next game, Patriots versus Niners. The Niners obviously won this game in pretty convincing fashion, 30-13. I don't think there's really much to talk about in this game. Really, the only thing for me to talk about is it just seems like they're scared to play Drake May because of how bad this offensive line looks, and they should.
Yeah,
you want to put that guy in there.
And that was my only takeaway is I want to see Drake May as much as anybody. But I said, like, before the season, if they sat him 17 games and just let Jacoby Brissett eat the punches, I'm completely fine with that because you develop bad habits in bad systems. Everybody has their fair share of seeing guys do that. Zach Wilson, things like that, Trubisky, whatnot. Like, it's just guys at that top of, he's an uber talent to me. But if you develop the bad habits in the rookie year, in week 5, you put him in there, I think it will look awful. It'll look as bad as Jacoby Brissett, but you can't lean on like, well, it's, we got this guy coming. This is the guy, and it looks awful. So it's just one of those
It looks
things.
bad.
Don't throw him in there.
No, I agree with
Fred
you.
Warner's pick 6 was awesome, though. That was the only thing I had from the Niners.
Fred, we had talked about it when he had that interception against the Vikings. He's the best linebacker in football. It's undisputed. He's an alien. Love Fred. Absolutely love Fred. Moving on to the next game, Chiefs versus Chargers. As you had mentioned, the Chiefs ended up pulling out a close one with Rashid Rice getting hurt, with Pacheco out. With Carson Steele fumbling like on the goal line. The fact that this team was still able,
for that.
Yeah, no, and as he should. But good on them pulling this one out with their top guys hurt. And I'm really interested to see where this offense is going to go this coming week against your Saints. But for me, there's still not a lot of talking points in this game. The only thing I want to mention, and I know you had kind of shot on the idea, and rightfully so, and you have reasons behind it, but I would not mind Davante Adams in this Chargers offense because they sorely need someone of his caliber there.
Yeah.
But that's besides the point. Do you have anything for this game?
Not really. Like, Mahomes looks bad. Like, that's
yes,
and that's okay to say. They said it on the broadcast. 9 straight games he has had a giveaway. That's bad quarterback stuff. But he's the best player in the world, and it's undisputed because of that playoff run last year. It's one of those things that some guys are gonna have stretches like this, and it doesn't look good, and the talent around them isn't playing up to level. Like, that's the reason why Rashid Rice is catching 15 balls on Sunday Night Football, because they had nothing else in that game. They could find 0. And Mahomes didn't want to test those safeties for whatever reason. They're great safeties, but just overall, it's one of those things. Like, it looks this bad. It looks awful for Chiefs standards, and they're still 4-0. That's still scary. And if Rashid Rice comes back at a time, he misses 4 weeks, and he comes back and it's still hitting the ground running, like, they're still going to be the team to beat. They're still the juggernaut. The defense with Spagnuolo is still elite. It is elite. I'm stamping it. I don't know. Like, they're still the Chiefs, even winning 17-10. You win. You don't apologize for your wins. You don't, ever. And they shouldn't.
Yep. I agree. Real quick before we move on to the next game, and I'll make it really quick, point that we can talk on in future episodes. Just a thought to put out there really quick, though. Ass and GT in this Harbaugh offense is going to feed families. Moving on to the next game, Browns versus Raiders. The Raiders ended up winning this game 20-16. The Browns' season of hell continues. They still just look bad. You had mentioned it, and we both mentioned at the top of the pod with this Amari Cooper situation. It just we had talked about this going into the offseason about teams that have the worst outlook for the future, and right now at this point, I think it's the Browns. You're locked in with Deshaun Watson for way too long. They're like, it's a poison pill contract. Like, there's nothing you can do to get out of that. And he is playing bad. He's playing very bad football.
The worst part about it, Ben, he looked his best all season against Vegas, and they had 16 points. That was the biggest glaring thing to me. They got a fumble return touchdown, and he looked the best all season, and they were still awful. Like, I don't know. Like, at some point, like, I said it, like, and I'm not afraid to say it. Like, if the best case scenario for the Browns is he gets injured and he's done for the season, so you don't have to deal with him pouting on the sideline for getting benched, and you bring in Jameis, who can operate an offense and do that under center stuff that Stefanski likes to do. It's just, at this point, I had expectations on the Browns because of how good that defense is. They haven't played up to par of number one like they were last year. I'll say that.
Yeah.
But this offense is ridiculously bad, and they have some glimmer of hope. They could say, well, we got Nick Chubb coming back. Like, maybe that's going to fix things. But don't hold out hope. And again, their tackles are still hurt. I know, but it looks awful. He still looks awful, and there's no sign of it getting better unless he's not playing, and they can't bench him.
Yep, I'll one up you. How about we get some DTR action in there? Get some DTR action in there.
We saw that.
Oh, come on! I want to see it. For those who don't know, I'm absolutely in love with DTR.
It was rough last year.
It was not good. No,
I think. Like, Jameis was signed for this exact scenario, right? If Watson was bad, you have a guy who can be capable of running an offense and getting those guys involved. And, like, again, like, now I'm, like, thinking about it, like, I'm trying to talk myself back into the Browns for whatever reason. Like, Njoku and Chubb and the tackles make a difference. But just overall, and maybe it's just me drinking this Stefanski Kool-Aid because of what he did with Flacco last year. But I don't know. Watson isn't it, and clearly isn't going to be it. And I don't know. It sucks for Browns fans.
Yep. On to the next game. The Bills finally looked human and did not look like this amazing team that they had looked through the first 3-ish weeks. They ended up losing in an absolute blowout to the Ravens, 10-35. Looked like the Ravens couldn't be stopped, and with 7 minutes left in the game, they threw their hands up and they said, we're not even risking it. Josh Allen, come to the sidelines. We got to see a little bit of Mitch action there. It was just from the first snap of the game, it looked like it was just going to be that kind of day for the Bills. I think if we were to see this matchup in the playoffs, obviously it will not look the same. I just think it was just bad. It's just bad game for them. I mean, every team has these bad games where they don't look, up to par, and it just so happened that it went up against one of the other contenders in the AFC, and it sucks for them for that. But I don't think it will have much of an impact on the rest of the season, or we can take away much from this game. I just think it was just bad. That's all it was.
Yeah, I mean, when you start a game with like a 3-and-out or no points, I can't remember if it was a 3-and-out or not, and then Derrick Henry runs for 90 yards, and you give Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry a lead for 60 minutes of the game, like, that's an issue. And the Ravens showed that when they can just run the ball on you and they don't have to worry about chasing points, they're going to be a formidable force. The Bills' defense clearly showed they're missing guys. Like, the biggest thing is like Dorian Williams, their linebacker. He's a fun player, but you forget when he's playing well, like this is still a second stringer. You're still going to run into games like that. Teron Johnson, their starting nickel, who's a great tackler. Like that was what felt like they were missing. He wasn't healthy for the game. So it's just sometimes you just run into games, you scheduled the loss, and you just go, we don't have it tonight, and that's okay. Maybe Josh can Herculean bring it back, and Keon Coleman, I think, dropped a huge play that could have brought him back in it, but just overall, sometimes you don't have it. On to next week, and I think that's the mindset Buffalo is going into.
Yep, I couldn't have said it any better. We're going to lump these last two games together just for time purposes, but also there's not a lot to take away from this Titans game. Titans get their first win of the year against the Dolphins, 31-12. This Dolphins offense continues to just be absolutely abysmal without Tua. Even like Devon Achane not looking that good. It really seems like they need to for anything at this point. But then in the game that much of America was watching over that garbage fire, Seahawks versus Lions. Lions end up winning 42-29, and they just did that on the backs of their running backs. Jahmyr Gibbs, Dave Montgomery, they both looked absolutely amazing in this game. No shock. They were playing the Detroit style of football. They wanted to. They're just going to run the ball, and they're going to wear you out. And they did exactly that. Any thoughts on either of the games?
Yeah, I could hit on – give me 60 seconds, I'll hit on every team. But, Titans looked better without Levis. Mason Rudolph's going to come in, put the ball – do the normal backup thing. Like, I'm going to – be on time, I'm be in rhythm, I'm going to get these guys involved, and they win. Mike McDaniel, you're officially on fraud watch for me because, listen, if your offense is so designed on quickness and speed and only Tua can run it, you got an issue. You got a problem. And the defense can't stop anything. When the Titans are putting 30 points, 20, they had a little garbage time touchdown, Tony Pollard. That only affected the unders. I had the under, but just overall, Mike McDaniel, I need some form of counter. Like, there's no counter. And I get Tyler Huntley just came in, but just overall, like, you need to find something if Tua's not going to play. Are we just going to schedule 3 losses or 4 losses, however long Tua's out? Like, the Dolphins are just a free win now? Because this offense can't do anything with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle? Like, that's your issue. You see Matt LaFleur winning with Malik Willis. I'm rambling. Let's get to the next one. Geno Smith, amazing. He's awesome. Jared Goff, you forgot the best part. 18 for 18 from Jared Goff, just ripping in breakers.
Oh, yes.
Just doing the Jared Goff 3. Just doing the Jared Goff thing. They played with the lead the entire thing. The entire front seven, it felt like, for Seattle was out. So this was, again, as I mentioned with the Bills, scheduled loss. Things happen. But Geno still goes out there, just like Stafford, for the love of the game, just going out there and ripping the ball. And there was a point where maybe they could come back, maybe they couldn't. Overall, that defense was gassed in the fourth quarter. But just fun. These teams, every time they play, they're just going to hit the over, and that's fun for all of us. That's fun for America.
Yes, I agree. All right. Moving on to the next segment here, guys.
Just when you thought it was safe to play the underdog, we put you on Upset Alert.
Yes. So last week I did the full-blown Matt Hartman. I had put every single team on Upset Watch, and of course, the week that I put every single team on Upset Watch,
it was wild. It was a wild week.
Yeah. So I'm not going to do that again. I got 3 teams that I picked out for you guys this week. If you're a Bears fan, I apologize, but you guys are on Upset Alert. I would not be surprised at all if the Panthers win this game. We'll get into kind of where I think that game is going to go here in just a second when we pick the game by game this coming week. Colts versus Jags. The Jags have to win a game at some point, right? That's kind of my thought process at this point, and this is an in-division game. These games can always get chippy, and hopefully with as good as Christian Kirk has looked over the last 2 games with Brian Thomas, as you talked about, and with how bad this Colts secondary has looked. Hopefully Trevor Lawrence in this passing offense can get something going. And then the last one, the Raiders versus Broncos. I think this is probably going to be another stinker of a game that most of America is tuned out on and not even watching. But I think the Raiders are going to win. A lot of people don't even want to talk about them without
Adams.
Yeah, I was going to say a lot of people don't even want to talk about them with the whole Devontae Adams stuff. But Minshew mania, man, there's still something there. People don't talk about it enough, but still something there. But those are the 3 games I got for you guys. The other game I'm a little inclined to put on upset, and I won't because I don't want to jinx you. But Chiefs, better watch yourself this week. But I will let you talk about your upset watches here.
My upset watch is one team, and you just mentioned them. I think the New Orleans Saints are going to beat the Chiefs this week, and I am I'm stamping it. I know, getting ahead of myself, but just overall, I think what Dennis Allen does, man coverage, cover 1, against these Chiefs receivers, like press Xavier Worthy into oblivion and have hopefully he's healthy. Demario Davis just shadow Travis Kelce, and Mahomes beat us. Like be magic. And if the Saints can do what the Chargers just did and make it a rock fight and the Chiefs score 17 points again, I'm more confident in the Saints offense than the Chargers to score more than 17 right now, which is an unreal statement that I would not have guessed I would say a month ago. But I do have confidence in this offense and confidence in Dennis Allen's defense. If the squad can get healthy, that they can punch the Chiefs in the mouth and get them, and everyone's going, is the sky falling for the Chiefs? No, the Saints are just still that good. They just ran into 2 weeks that were unlucky.
Yes.
Optimistic fan talking. If they lose by 20, I'll still be like, yeah, I bet against Mahomes. Look at me, egg on my face.
Yeah. I don't blame you. I was inclined to put them on upset alert, and we'll get into how I feel about this game in a little bit. I was gonna say at least you have Texas football to lean on, but you don't even play a game this week.
Yeah, they're on bye. But yours is back next week for the shootout.
Next week for the shootout.
Jackson Arnold got benched. LOL,
oh my
Oklahoma.
God. All right, moving on to the next segment here.
You think you know football? Well, prove it. This is Pigskin Pick'em.
All right, we will go game by game, picking who we think is going to win. We'll start off with Thursday Night Football. Bucks versus Falcons. I would be shocked if we're probably not all on agreement on this one based off of how many of you both talked about the Falcons and the Bucks. But Ryan had the Bucks winning. I too have the Bucks winning. Are you going to follow?
Yeah, I think the Bucks are the better team. I think they're relatively healthy. I have no doubt in picking the Bucks that they're at least going to hang around in this game and make it a close one. Maybe Young Wei Koo makes a 65-yarder this time. Like, maybe it's just what he does. But yeah, I'm going to pick the Bucks.
Yes. Moving to our first London game of the year at 9:30. If it was anyone but the Jets, I would have been inclined to get up and watch it. But I don't know if I want to get up that early and watch Jets football. But it is the Jets versus the Vikings. Again, I'd be shocked if we all aren't in agreement on this one. Ryan has the Vikings. I have the Vikings. I think the Vikings will probably have, ironically enough, Aaron Rodgers seeing ghosts. And I don't think it'll probably be even a close game.
Yeah, we all are in agreement. I think the Vikings are going to win. The Vikings are going to be 5-0. The defensive battle, this is going to be, a fun bet the under, in my opinion. Bet the under, Don't watch it, and just sleep in. Maybe you'll likely win money. I think they're both great defenses with Sam Darnold's playing out of his mind, but he hasn't played a defense this good yet. The
Niners.
I think Niners are fine. Niners they're all right, but I think the Jets' defense is top 3, and the Vikings are in that conversation with them. So it's just...
Yeah. All right. Panthers versus Bears. No shock here. It was funny because Ryan had mentioned on the last podcast that he's not picking the Bears to win a game the rest of the season.
Whoa.
He picked the Bears to win. No shock.
Didn't even last 2 weeks.
Yeah, it didn't even last 2 weeks. I don't blame him, though. It's the Panthers. That being said, Ryan and any other Bears fans, man, plug your ears. I'm going to have the Panthers win this one. I think the Red Rifle is going to come out slinging, and I think it's going to be a underrated fun game to watch. I think a lot of people are probably going to tune out of it because it's the Panthers and the Bears. But I wouldn't be shocked if a lot of America ends up tuning into the second half of this game.
I'm gonna go with the Bears. I don't love it, which is not great when you're facing the Panthers. I'm just taking the best unit, and the Bears defense is the best unit.
Bears defense.
And the defense comparison in this game is so stark that I think if Caleb can muster, if Caleb's going to muster up a huge performance, it'll be against this defense, and I'm confident in his ability to do that. So I'm going to go with the Bears, and I think the Bears are going to win. I think they're going to cover the 4, maybe even win by 10.
Oh wow!
Wow! Just fading the Panthers.
There you go. Yeah, that's fair. That's never a bad idea, fading the Panthers. I will say J.C. Horn's actually kind of looked good for the first time in however many years he's been in the NFL. He's actually
still holding
good.
out that draft stock.
Yeah, right. Going back to a game I think we're probably all going to be lockstep in. The Browns versus the Commanders at the Commanders. Hopefully everyone leaves, air quotes, FedEx Field. I know that's not what it's called anymore. Hopefully everyone leaves healthy with no injuries. I'm going to have the Commanders win this one. I just am not moved by the Browns, obviously.
I think they're close enough that I'm going to fade. I'm going to go Browns. If maybe I get a game on you guys, if we can't be lockstep all the way, if I can steal a game here or there. I think these two teams are close together, and maybe, Jaden Daniels runs into a brick wall and it's Myles Garrett. I wouldn't be shocked if that happens, but yeah, I'm going to go Browns. Don't love it. Don't love betting against Jaden Daniels, but I think it would be a fun test to watch him face this defense.
Yes, I agree. And really quick, you actually reminded me. Last week, Ryan went 9-7. I went 11-5. Kind of getting back into this. Hopefully, making a push as I do here. Ryan is still up 35-28 on the season. I'm 33-30. We're clawing back in here, guys. But on to the next game, Dolphins versus Patriots. And for reference, Ryan also had the Commanders winning that Commanders-Browns game. Dolphins versus Patriots. Ryan is still going to ride with Huntley. I am not there. Was not impressed with anything that I had really saw from him in the past game. It looked like practice squad quarterback. I think he can look better than that, and I think he probably is better than that. That being said, I have not been impressed by them, and I think the Patriots are going to get a win.
I agree. I'm picking the Patriots too. I think, again, this is going to be an electric bet the under at probably 34 is going to be the line. But just overall, I don't know. Just picking the Patriots for whatever reason, to not pick Mike McDaniel just to see the sky fall. And maybe he figures something out, but just overall, I'm not picking the Dolphins after what I saw against the Titans.
Again, they just have not been able to get anything going. And you were pretty close. Would you have that over under at?
34, 35.
No, you were right there. It is 36.5.
Ooh, I bet people are gonna bet it so much it gets down to 35.
Oh yeah.
that'll be my fun.
Yes. Going to the next game, a game that I had on upset alert, the Colts at Jags. Ryan has the Colts winning this one. I actually have the Jags pulling off the upset and winning this game. Like I said, I think the path to victory there is just going to be hopefully getting the ball out to your wide receivers against a pretty bad secondary. And again, I have the Jags winning this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick the Jags, and I feel very confident about it. I don't know why. I have nothing to feel confident about, but they hung around. They ran the ball well against Houston. Just keep carrying momentum, I guess, even though they lost the game, where the Colts kind of survived with Flacco. And maybe, if I get burned by being wrong about Flacco, I can live with it. It's just one of those things. I'll bet Lawrence until the day I die.
No, as you should. Bills versus Texans. This was, I think, I think this was probably the hardest game for me to pick in the entire slate. This will probably be the game that I spend the majority. I'll probably have this one up on one screen and then Red Zone up on the other screen without having to stress watch my Eagles at all. I could really see this game going either way. I'm going to have Texans win this one. And Ryan also has the Texans winning this one as well.
Yeah. We'll all go lockstep this one. I'll go with the Texans. I think it's just it's going to be a fun one. I don't think there's much to say. It looks so bad for the Bills, so kind of fade them. But just overall, I love watching C.J. Stroud. I just want to bet. I just want to pick C.J. Stroud. Just.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Ravens versus Bengals, an in-division matchup.
Ooh, that's a fun one.
This division is always just a dogfight. Every single game they play, a very, very fun. I absolutely love it whenever these teams are playing in division. And side note, for those who forgot, there's the in-season Hard Knocks will be following all four teams, the Browns, Ravens, Bengals, and Steelers. So that will be coming out at some point. I know you don't. Electric. Honestly, I'm solely tuning into Hard Knocks to watch the Browns at this point. I'm gonna have the Ravens win this one. I don't think they're gonna have any answer for Derrick Henry. This run defense looks absolutely awful for the Bengals. I mean, the worst. I don't know what the stats say, but the eye test tells you they look like the worst run defense in the league. And I think Derrick Henry is going to run all over this team.
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement. I'm going Ravens. This is a huge game. Just overall for the Bengals. If they lose to the Ravens now and fall 2 games behind them in the division, technically 3 because of the tiebreaker, that's huge. They're at home, so I mean that's a bonus. But yeah, what you said, the run defense. I don't think anyone on the planet has a stopping force for Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, and especially the Bengals don't. So, going Ravens.
Honestly, the best stopping force for Derrick Henry and the Ravens' run offense is just having a better offense than that.
Yeah.
That's the only thing you can do. Yeah, scoring. Another team that I put on upset watch, the Raiders versus Broncos. Ryan has the Broncos winning. I'm going to have the Raiders winning. I think the Raiders can pull it off. I think the Raiders, without Adams, a lot of people are looking for the Broncos. The Broncos just beat the Jets of all teams. But like I said, I think there's some Minshew mania still left in there to be had.
Yeah, it's wild. Both of these teams are 2-2, so someone's got to win unless an outstanding tie happens. One of these teams is going to be over 500 after 5 weeks. I would not have predicted that. These were 2 of the worst teams in the NFL going into the season.
And I still think they are, to be frank.
And yeah, and that's the thing. It goes to show you how the NFL works week to week. I'm going to go Broncos. I don't know. I don't know why. If Crosby doesn't play again, I don't want to. Yeah, I'll go depending. I'm going on Crosby's out. If Crosby plays, I probably will lean Raiders, but I'm going to pick the Broncos. I'll stamp my claim. Think it'll be out. So, Broncos.
All right. Cardinals versus Niners, another in-division matchup. Ryan has the Cardinals winning.
Wow.
I
Wow.
yeah, that was kind of my response. I don't. I can't
Yeah.
get there. Marv looks fun, but they really have not been able to get anything back. But why am I blanking on his name? Their tight end is coming back, and it's gonna drive me
McBride.
crazy. There it is, Trey McBride. Trey McBride is coming back, and guys, by the way, it is midnight my time. But Trey McBride is coming back, so there's still is hope that there's someone outside of Marv. But I had the same reaction as you. I'm going Niners.
Yeah, I'm going to go Niners pretty easily. Just the better football team at home. Tom Brady's there. Come on.
Yeah, I agree. In a game that 2 weeks ago I would have said wouldn't have been super fun to watch, but now all of a sudden is. Giants at Seahawks. Ryan has the Seahawks winning. I'm also going to have the Seahawks winning just because I think Malik is still up in the air because he was in concussion protocol. But if Malik is playing in this game, it is going to become very, very interesting very quickly. But I will have the Seahawks winning this one because I doubt Malik plays this week.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Seahawks. I think pretty easily if they can get healthy on the front line. I think the Giants are gonna have the same day they had running the football against Dallas against this front. Byron Murphy, he's the man. But just overall going with the Seahawks pretty easily at home, better football team. It's that simple.
Yep, I know this one hurt Ryan's soul. Packers versus Rams in LA, but Ryan did pick the Packers. Poor buddy. I am also going to pick the Packers until one of those two guys come back, Puka or Cup. It's going to be really hard to pick the Rams to win anything.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Rams. Just kind of another one of those, fade the boys. But again, I think Stafford can just go on one of these heaters, and if he can go on a heater in this game against that defense, like that defense let Sam Darnold go on a heater against him, I think that they could definitely steal one out. Predicting a big game from Jordan Whittington. I don't know why. Hook 'em horns. Just put him in the Cooper Kupp role, and he'll feast. McVay, hope you see this. But, yeah, going Rams.
There you go. In a game that hurt me to pick, Cowboys versus Steelers. Ryan goes Steelers. I am going to go Cowboys. I do not think the Cowboys are frauds. I think that there are things that they need to fix. That defense, especially against the run, is not very good. But right now, Najee's not blowing me away. Warren's not blowing me away. If their big hole is in run defense, the Steelers don't really have like the guy to attack it like Derrick Henry or something in that matter. So I am going the Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm also going to go Cowboys. I'm just going with the better quarterback. That's simple.
Yep.
Just sometimes I'll just go with the better quarterback, go with the better unit. I think the Cowboys offense is going to muster up enough points to outlast the Justin Fields Steelers. Just as you said.
Yep, I agree. And then rounding it out, Monday Night Football, one game, the way that God intended it to be. Saints versus Chiefs. I was really, and I shouldn't have been shocked that you had picked the Saints. I really tried to avoid putting the Saints on upset watch because I'm picking the Saints.
Nice.
I wanted it to be like this fun. Like, oh, Ben picked the Saints over the Chiefs. You kind of stole that away
the
from
thunder.
Me there. So, and obviously we know where you're going with this one. So.
Yeah, going Saints. Ride my team till the wheels fall off, which could be soon.
Yeah, very well could be. And then moving on to the last NFL segment of the week.
They say winning isn't everything, and that may be true in some cases, but right now, let's make some money. It's time for Pigskin Payout.
All right. So basically, half this parlay that I have whipped up and this was not on purpose, is just fading what Matt said. Um, I usually do 3 legs, but I'm doing a 4-legger for you guys this week, just because I liked all of these ones. Commanders money line. The line for that is minus 166. Panthers to cover 4. Again, I picked the Panthers to win outright, so I would not at all be shocked if they cover and lose by less than a field goal there. I know we had talked about this Chiefs offense and how old Travis Kelce has looked and how he has not looked good. But I am going to take Travis Kelce anytime touchdown scorer. I purposely left his yards out and his receptions out because I don't know how much he's actually going to be involved in that. But I think he is going to be a big weapon if they can get down there in the red zone. And then the last one, again, you guys should not be shocked based off of last week and what we had said about this Bengals rushing defense. But I'm taking Derrick Henry over 80 yards at minus 165. That brings the total parlay up to a whopping plus 956. So that's going to be $10 to win 105. So
all right,
whipped it up.
I'm
I feel
whipping.
confident about this one.
I'm whipping one up. I think I got it.
There we go. Let's see
always,
it. Let's
always
hear it.
fun to whip up plays during the podcast.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mentioned it. Under 40.5 from the Jets and Vikings in London. Just bet the unders in London. They're never fun. You always wake up disappointed because it's not fun. I always remember the Colts and Patriots game a few years ago. Bailey Zappi against was it Minshew? Was it last year?
Yeah.
I don't know. Time flies, but that game was horrific. Baltimore 2.5. Lay the points. I think they can win by a field goal. I think Tucker gets his bounce back. He hits a game-winning field goal. Whatever. Even if the Ravens just stomp the Bengals into a mud hole because that offense or that defense can't stop those two. Whatever. And then I have Jags money line. The Jags are winning. All right. The Jags are winning a football game this week. Are they the last 0-4 team? Last winless?
Yes.
They're winning this week. So that's in the lay. And then last, kind of the plus odds that boost this parlay, Nico Collins is going to get in the end zone for the Texans. So that rounds up to plus 1,172, plus 1,172. So pretty good. Let's throw, a quick $5 on that, and that is to win 58. So, feel fun. It's fun. And then I will be nuking Saints money line on Monday night.
No, as you should. No, as you should. That being said, on to the segment that we have teased, or at least I have teased numerous times this point into the podcast.
Pro football isn't the only game in town. Let's take a stroll to Ben's College Corner.
Yes. So usually we review the games and kind of the big storylines of the past week, look at the games going into this week, and then maybe have another segment. But to be frank, there's not a lot of college football games that stand out to me to watch this week. I'm just going to tell you guys to watch your favorite team. If your favorite team is on, go ahead and play them. But there's not any crazy big-time matchups. So just watch your favorite team. In terms of stuff that had happened last week, I'd be remiss to not talk about them at least a little bit. My Hoosiers are ranked for the first time since I have gone to school here. The last time they were ranked was Michael Penix. That was when I was a senior in high school. So they have not been ranked since I've started going to school here. They have been winless, or not winless, other way around. They have not lost a game. My bad. They're 5-0. They are ranked, I think, 23 in the AP. They're going up against Northwestern, a team that they should not even be a game.
Yeah.
I'm just very, very excited for it. They're bowl eligible already. We're going to go bowling. And Kirk is doing what Kirk does, man. Coach Sig is just turning this program around in a year. And I was someone who was saying, like, guys, let's not, get over our reins here. It might take a year or 2 years to get this program turned around.
Nope.
It's not going to happen right away. And I was wrong. Sig, again, all he needed was one offseason, brought in some of his guys from JMU, brought in Rourke from Ohio, and is absolute terror. I could not be more excited about this Hoosier team. I don't know how much you've watched of Indiana football, though.
No, I've seen as little as you possibly can. I'll say that. But again, like you were saying, like you set yourself up for disappointment, and you were surprised by excitement. The way it's supposed to be, not the way I'm doing it, where I'm putting the Saints gonna win, and the Texas has expectations to win the the national championship. And I know I'm not rocking UCLA, but NC State, I expect, like, I had this hope that they're going to win the ACC, and then they lose by 40 to Tennessee. Like, it's just, you're complete opposite on the college front than me. So,
Grayson has been bad this year. Grayson has like
it's been, he got hurt against oh man, I'm blanking, but he got hurt the game before the Clemson game, and yeah, CJ Bailey has played since, and he's been fine, but he's a true freshman. So it's going to take time, and maybe Grayson comes back. Maybe he doesn't. Like, I hope he does, because he is a senior, and,
Louisiana
he clearly came here to win. But,
yeah, it hurts. But, hey, expectations are not always a bad thing. You work up these amazing expectations for, let's say, a game like Georgia and Alabama, and it turns out to be exactly what you could have hoped. Through the first half, the first two quarters, it really did
first
not
20
even
minutes.
Look like it did not look like it was going to be a game, but oh my goodness, Bama was blowing them out. It was not going to be a game, but Georgia kept on chipping away. To at one point, they had regained the lead with like 6 minutes or 5 minutes left or something like that in the fourth quarter. And then here comes the young stud, 17-year-old Ryan Williams.
Did you know Ryan Williams is 17?
Did you know he's 17? Caught the game-winning touchdown, sealed it for Bama really quickly. And I know I'm going to probably sound like a hater, probably going to sound like an unk. Can we stop with Ryan? I know it's a lot of fun, and he's a young dude, but people are like, he's the best wide receiver in college football. He's not even the best freshman wide receiver in college football. What are we doing? Stop. He's fun, but please don't ruin this for me by like crowning this kid as like this next. And he very well could be. Like, he's going to have an awesome college career. I really, really do not want to take away from how good Ryan Williams could be and is most likely going to be. But, like, people are saying he's the best college football wide receiver when they're not watching Tetero McMillan. They're like, Luther Bolden exists. Jeremiah Smith exists. Like, the other freshman phenom wide receiver who is better than Ryan Williams. And again, this is no shot at him, but like when people are talking about Ryan Williams the way they have this past week after that Georgia game, and rightfully so, the kid deserves.
When you make that
shine.
play, when you make the two plays, he had the juggle in the middle of the field, and that game-winning play, of course it's going to be sky high. Of course we're gonna rocket ship to the moon about how good he is. But
yeah, he deserves his shine, but it's driving me a little crazy, man.
I can't get enough of Ryan Williams. I'll say that, though. I can't get
Come
enough.
on. But Jeremiah Smith is better, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think
that's all
Jeremiah
I need to
Smith is going to have some play against Iowa where he just dunks on somebody, and we're all going to go, oh, yeah, the number one player in the class is playing outside X for Ohio State, which doesn't happen. Like, that's the thing. They are wide receiver but this doesn't happen. You sit and develop at Ohio State, and he's in there, and he's better than Igbokwe already for me. So it's just.
I agree. He has stepped in, and he is with a team that has like Judkins and Travion Henderson. He's a freshman, and he is still the engine that runs this team.
Yep.
Oh my goodness, cannot get enough of him, which sucks that he has to play for Iowa State. It really does. But then the last kind of bit of stuff I wanted to add was Notre Dame actually beat a good team. They beat Louisville. Good for them. Maybe their chances aren't completely dead. Maybe media, maybe me, maybe you, maybe Ryan.
This is the world. This is the world of the 12-team playoffs now. This is the world of the 12-team playoff now. One loss doesn't kill your season, which is good for fan bases, but at the same time, for me, as a proponent of the 4 to 6 team playoff, like it just, I feel like the regular season is the playoffs, and when a team like Notre Dame loses to Northern Iowa, it should be heart-shattering. It should be the end of the season, the end of the line for you, unless you climb this ridiculous mountain back, which Notre Dame could. Like, they still, like, Florida State isn't good, but, like, USC is on their schedule. They still have Power 5 opponents that they could climb back. But the 12-team playoff, they're firmly back in. Like, they're probably, I don't know the rankings right now, but I would have to assume they beat Louisville, who's 15, 16. They were kind of jockeying for position. I would only assume Notre Dame's in the top 12 right now. And you look at that and say, they're still in the playoff. Like, it doesn't even matter that they lost to Northern Iowa, which sucks because that game, that finish was so electric. And so, it's just one of those things. My own gripes.
Yep.
If you like the 12-team playoff and you are a proponent of more football, fine. That's fine. Guess what? I'm still going to watch. Don't look at me and say, you're not going to watch. I'm still going to watch every game. Still going to enjoy more football, but I just think crowning a national championship should be prestigious, and that's my own, we're getting into 4-team to 6-team playoff debates in October. Just me random, man.
No, I mean I agree with you, and for those who are wondering, they are ranked 14 right now, so they only jumped up. They jumped up 2 spots. They were 16, beat the 15th team, now 14. It is probably
and
right.
Like Georgia and Tennessee got to play and things like that. Like, these are going to get sorted out that if Notre Dame just wins, they will be in. And they should win most of their games.
Which, that's a conversation for another time, and I'm wondering how much I don't like that. I don't like the idea of them just winning and getting in. I think they should play some people outside of USC. Anyways, again, conversation for another time. But the part of College Corner that everyone had probably came to, again, the tagline kind of this entire podcast at this point, we're talking about the quarterback class for the draft and people, that the class that it will be coming in for the quarterbacks in this upcoming draft here. Really stumbling over my words there, guys. I apologize. We're going to do top 5. I got 7 for you guys. And not to spoil it too much.
I
have 7 for you guys, but I have 7. I ranked my top 5. And then I have a quarterback, and then I had ranked Quinn outside of my top 5. Not because I don't think Quinn is a top 5 quarterback in this class. The only reason Quinn is outside of this is because I would like to see more of him.
He is not apt, like, he's NA for you. Because I have an NA quarterback too, who I do not have ranked. So this is interesting.
That's funny. Yeah, he's NA for me. That's funny. He is NA for me because I haven't seen enough, and he has if he steps in the Oklahoma game and continues to be as good as he looked through the first 2 games, he will absolutely be in this. Will probably be top 3. But through 2 games, it's really hard for me to judge him, especially compared to these guys that have way more, at least 2 extra games under the belt than him. Do you want to give off your top 5 and I give off my top 5, or do you want to rank them like in reverse order or normal order?
I just want to reveal number 1.
Okay, go for it.
My quarterback 1 is Jalen Milroe, and I know that's probably
yes!
I know that's probably insane.
Yes, no,
Listen.
it's funny. On my notes, I have Jalen Milroe, quarterback 1, by a country mile. Like right next to it. It says Jalen Milroe by a country mile. So I
have Jalen Milroe in my notes. Jalen Milroe in the tier of his own.
Yes! Oh, yes. This is what I was referring to you when I had said we'll see if one of my... Because there were 2 guys that I liked in this class over the other ones. But I did not mean to steal your thunder there. I'm just very excited that you have...
No, that's awesome.
We'll see who QB2 is for you in just a second here. But tell the folks at home Jalen Milroe and why he's in a tier of his own.
Jalen Milroe is by far the best athlete of this entire group. He has the best traits of the entire group. He has just a lot of these guys have really good arms, and he is up there with them. Like I think Cam Ward probably has a better arm in those tight windows, but overall, the mixture of traits, the youth, and just that big game stage, he showed off against not Texas, like a good football team. It was Georgia, the standard of college football for the last 4 years. Georgia has not lost a regular season game since COVID, like 2020 against Florida. That's how ridiculous Kirby Smart has been, and he looked decisive, he looked assertive, and his overall, just his speed is so compelling. And in a draft class where there's not someone compelling, that is why I put him up so high at quarterback 1 and in the tier of his own, because if I'm going to miss, I'm not going to missing on a Carson Beck, Quinn Ewers, Cam Ward, my number 4, who I won't mention, but just overall, like, if I'm going to miss on a player, I'm going to miss trying to make Jalen Milroe work, because I look at the NFL and I go, Kyler Murray has worked out. Jalen Hurts is translated. What is it? And Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is the big one right now who's translating. So it's just Jalen Milroe, he grew up, and maybe I'm just sipping the DeBoer Kool-Aid, and it's just he just sets his players up for success, and it's easy. But he looked more decisive than that Michigan game. That I'm ready.
Yes.
It's time. You show out on that stage against that team the way that he did, and in the big moment making that play down the field to Ryan Williams. I'm blown away. And I would not have thought I would be at this place a month ago, but here we are. We're both in agreement here. This is awesome.
Both in agreement. Yes, exactly. And he was a player that, again, like a month ago, I was joking that he was going to be quarterback 1, or at least semi-joking that he was going to be quarterback 1. But, I mean, I really couldn't have said it much better than you did. But really the big thing that had blown me away when watching him is, as you were saying, how decisive he is. And he's always had that fun dual threat ability. But this year he looks just he looks a step above than he did last year as a passer. He has a 4.2 big time throw percentage, which is very, very good. But combined with that, he only has a 0.9 turnover worthy play percentage.
Yep.
Like that is very, very low for those who are wondering. I've absolutely blown away with how well he's looked as a passer. 10-to-1 touchdown to interception ranking, or touchdown to interception ratio for him this year. Again, that mixed with his ability to make plays, with his legs. Again, if you're going to go out, I want to go out swinging with a guy that has the traits. I could not have said it literally any better than what you did. We'll see if we're for agreements on QB2 here. Who's your QB2?
I don't think so, because it's not going to be popular after the Georgia game, but it's still Carson Beck to me. He's still the size. He is still the size, the prototypical size, the arm, the on time. The only thing I have an issue with him, Jalen Milroe doesn't have the same issue because he's so dynamic, but Carson Beck, he doesn't throw guys open. Like that Georgia game, there's so many of these just, hey, go make a play, and not a lot of just the cheat code that is Brock Bowers from last year. Like, and maybe that's an indictment on Georgia's offense and the receiving weapons that he has, and not him. But I'm still in the boat that, like, of the floor compared to the rest of this class, if I need a guy who's going to come in and operate my offense at an average to above average level over time, I still have confidence that it's Beck over anybody else. But that's why I have him quarterback 2, not so much of, like, wow, he's going to be outstanding. He's going to come in just like Stroud, and it's going to hit like a snap of the finger, and he's going to be great. But just he's going to operate whatever you want in front of him and do it at a good enough level that you are confident in winning games over time. So,
Yep.
I think.
Yep. I couldn't have said it any better as well. That's why he's QB3 for me. Again, he's gonna have that safe floor that you're looking for, that every quarterback class has. It's for that reason, and he's, again, my QB3, but it's for that reason, and then the reason with Jalen Milroe, my number 2 guy that I'll get into in a second, that this class is not as good as last year's class or the year before that or anything, but I think it is better than, obviously, the Pickett class, and I think it is probably better than what most of the media is making it out to be. Again, I'm not going to tout this class as this amazing class. I'm not trying to say that. But I think this class has the options of guys that have the upside with Milroe, and I'll get to it. Cam Ward, my number 2 guy, and has these upsides as well as that floor guy that you're looking for in Carson Beck. I think, again, this class has kind of been I don't know, people have trashed it a little bit more than I think it probably
It's
deserves.
not last
people
year.
Are
That's all you have to say, and I think everybody gets it. It's just, we're not going to have 3 guys at the top that we're going rattling off 1, 2, 3. I think that's the only thing that I'm at with this draft class.
At least in my opinion, has grown at every step that he has gone to. He started out, I'm blanking on the name, small college he started out at. But he started out at started out there, had transferred to Wazoo, looked very good there, and now had taken the step to, as much as an ACC, is a step, but had taken the step to the
Miami is a step.
to Miami, and he has looked good, man. And the thing that and you had talked about it a little bit, he has looked good when throwing the balls into the tight windows, better than I would have expected. But the one thing this year compared to last year that I've seen that I like so much more now is he is now kind of taking what the defense is giving him. And I think this is more coming with the age for him. He's one of the older quarterbacks in this draft class. But on the third down plays, again, he's saying, oh, the defense is actually respecting my arm, and he will run. And if that's not there, then he will pass. And he more so this year than the past years is actually taking what the defense is giving him. And he will still have some of his plays where he tries to do too much. And sometimes at the college level, it will work out for him. The Virginia Tech game, for example, he had that crazy play where he slipped out of that sack there against Virginia Tech, and it worked out for him. And I don't know if that's going to work out for him there at the NFL. But I just think he looks so much more mature this year. He looks better as a passer, and he offers that dual threat ability that we had talked about with Milroe. I don't think he has quite the speed that Milroe has. I don't think he has quite the arm that Milroe has, but I like his accuracy a little bit better than Milroe. Again, I think get the upside with these two top guys in this class.
Yeah.
And I'm here for it. And I would not be shocked if both of them go in the top 10. And people right now aren't drafting any quarterbacks in the top 10. But we'll see where the rest of the year takes us. Who do you have at QB3 then?
I've Cam Ward and Quinn Ewers kind of lumped together, 3A, 3B. It's just, again, the quarterback thing I go back to. It's a different flavor thing. You want a more electric, dynamic athlete, you go with Cam Ward. If you want, a straight line pocket passer who can elevate from the pocket, elevate your players from the pocket, it's Ewers. They're kind of in lockstep with me right now, leaning towards Ward because guess what? Quinn Ewers is hurt again. And that is becoming a real issue I have for him at the next level because he has been hurt every single year he has started at Texas. That's a problem that I still can't get over. Cam Ward still has the turnover issue with me. It just forcing some things that, and maybe I'm just one throw sample size in it, but just overall, once he faces tougher competition, I need to see it. And, in the ACC, maybe he doesn't get the tougher conference. But these guys are going to play in big games. That is the best part about the 12-game playoff is the best quarterbacks are going to be on the best teams, and the best teams are going to face the best teams. So we're going to get the best quarterbacks facing the best quarterbacks. So over time, I will naturally probably drive Cam Ward up if he performs well against those teams. But for right now, I'm still just holding my ground. Like, I like him, and I would take him high. I'd take him in the top 15, but I'm kind of in this little realm where it's like just a little bit more. Just a little bit more.
Yes. Quinn, again, in that range of 3. But like I said at the top of the segment, I just need to see more of a sample size out of Quinn there. QB4 for me, and I'm assuming probably the guy that you have at NA next to his name, Shedeur. Yep, Shedeur. I
thought you were predicting my QB4, and there's no way you will.
No. Well, he might be my QB5. We'll talk about it. That being said, with Shedeur, man, there's a lot to like, especially this year, and his ability to make the big plays in the big moments is almost bar none. To maybe Jalen Milroe, he makes the plays when it's mattered, and he's shown it this season. And he doesn't have a great down the field arm, but he has a good arm to get the balls in the spaces that they need to get into. And this is where it gets tricky for me. I think he is enough of an athlete to pick up kind of the play when it needs to, kind of like a Patrick Mahomes athlete, but he's not enough to be considered a dual threat. And there are moments on film that I see that athleticism shine almost for him when it comes to his ability to navigate the pocket. In that same breath, it absolutely kills me because he has shown the ability to navigate the pocket with the athleticism that he has, but he's consistently making and taking stupid sacks that he should not. And everyone wants to blame, and that offensive line has looked better as the year has gone on, but everyone wants to consistently blame this offensive line group. And to some extent, and to the majority of the extent, it is that offensive line. But at what point do we have to start shifting that towards the conversation of Shedeur? And then really the big thing, and I'm sure everyone is going to talk about it with Shedeur, is the maturity with him. And we and you had a very in-depth conversation about it. We've talked about it twice on this podcast. I don't like that he left his team in Nebraska. The fact that he walked away and he kind of felt bigger than the program and did not stay there with his team along the sidelines when they lost. Everything that, and I know you disagree with this one, but everything that happened with the Colorado State game when he wasn't shaking the hand of the Colorado State's quarterback and was saying what he said to Colorado State's quarterback, which I'm not going to say here on the podcast. Very easy to find if you guys want to look that up. And I think a lot of that has to do, I love Dion as a player and Dion as a personality. A lot of that has to do with Dion as his dad. But that's the other really, really big thing that scares me, is the maturity there for him. It's just not there. It scares me. And I don't know if I would feel confident drafting him and saying, you are now the leader of the clubhouse here. You're going to be the leader of the team, and you're going to build this amazing culture. And I'm worried that in the NFL, he's not going to be able to. And then there's that whole thing, too, where Dion was like, there's a list of 5 or 6 teams that I've made that I'll allow my sons and Travis to go to. And if it's not these 5 or 6 teams, then like there's just so much that follows Shedeur off the field outside of his ability. Like I said, that scares me about him. That almost makes me want to put that NA next to his name as well.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Shedeur for me is that he's the most talented thrower of the football of any of these guys. And that's the thing that, like, the reason I have him NA is the same thing. It's the interviews and the maturity. It really is that simple, that I don't know how those are going to go. I can't get a look behind the scenes, and this guy is so vocally just present that, because he plays for Colorado, he plays for his dad. He's never played quarterback without his father being the head coach. Like, that's a wild statement to hear out loud. Like, it just, I don't know. I don't know anything. All I know is his talent on the field is bar none in this class, flat out. And so, that's why I have an NA, because over time, like, he'll be an NA to the rest of the year, because I don't know. Where if I knew, I'd probably put him 1. Like, it's that close with him and Milroe that I don't know. But he's so just, I don't know how to put it other than, like, he is so vocally present, and it could become an issue for any team that is looking to draft in the top 5. Or it could be the Panthers, who just don't care and go, listen, we just take the talent, and he's more talented than Bryce Young. Like, we'll figure it out. Like, I don't know. It's just weird. It's just different. We've never seen a guy like this.
No, I agree.
And since maybe Eli, like, who had his dad said no to San Diego, and he gets to New York, and I mean, luckily both those guys work out. Imagine if you're San Diego, you trade away the number 1 pick, and Phillip Rivers isn't good. Like, I mean, this draft class, it's so much closer and condensed that we don't know anything. Like, what if you have Shedeur in your back pocket, you trade away because you're going to take Carson Beck instead, and Shedeur is awesome, and Carson Beck doesn't live up to the hype? Like, you're kicking yourself because Deion Sanders said your team isn't good enough. Like, that's crazy. But it could happen.
It could happen. Yeah, the off the field stuff, man, is concerning for him. My QB5, and I hope he is on your list, man, because as a dude who had sat behind Jaden Daniels, we did not know much about him. But man, and it was hard for me to leave him off this, or I guess it was hard for. I was really deciding between him and Miller. And Miller was that 7th guy I told you guys was going to have 7. Miller's is that 7th guy who just got off the list for different reasons than Quinn, and I don't think Miller should probably come out this year. Maybe he should. I could be convinced that Miller should come out this year. Garrett Nussmeier, man. He, from what I have seen from him through the little bit that he has played, it is some exceptional arm talent. And his ability to throw the football at an NFL level, making NFL throws, squeezing it into tight windows, throwing his wide receivers open, leading them effectively, and being able to have a quick release, have a good motion. He has just been the biggest surprise of me out of anyone in this quarterback class when it's come to that, given we had not seen him before this point because he was sitting behind Daniels. But golly, man, his ability to just make every throw and look like an NFL passer is maybe bar none to anyone thus far in this class. And really, obviously the big weakness out of him is just the limited starting experience, the lack of tape that we have for him. Sometimes maybe trusting his arm a little bit too much. But right now, if he continues to look good throughout this entire rest of the season, I could be convinced that he should move up even further in this class. Move up a guy like Shedeur, move up, even it may be a Carson Becker or something. I've been blown away by Garrett Nussmeier. Absolutely blown away.
Yeah, I have him and Miller Moss kind of tied at 6 because I'm like I watched that LSU USC game and I see 2 NFL quarterbacks, but at the same time I have such limited sample size on both of these players that I can't make a decision on them right now, and I don't think they're going to make that decision to come out right now. No. That's my only thing. That's why I have them at 6. They could easily continue to rise if they continue to play at their performance that they are. But overall, those guys are at 6 for me.
And his dad is what, the QB coach for like the who's his dad the QB coach for?
I have no idea.
Oh, his dad is a QB coach for someone, I think. Or was a QB coach for something. I don't remember anyways. Oh, Eagles. He's the Eagles QB coach.
Well, that's why you know his name.
When you look at that would make sense why I knew that. Anyways, you QB4 5 for you, right?
QB4 and QB5. QB5, Jackson Dart. It just the size operates in the Kiffin system, so you don't know anything. But he has pushed the ball downfield quite a few times.
Yes.
Didn't look good against Kentucky, of course, but just overall, I think he is a big play hunter, and he hits those big plays, and it's going to look great for Ole Miss because they are more talented, but overall, when that pocket was pushed, it looked bad. So I'm not sitting here. It's the same thing as like Matt Corral. Like, I like what I see. I like that you can move around and you're a functional athlete and things like that, but how much of this is going to translate to the NFL, and Matt Corral barely got a chance in the NFL. He kind of lost it not because of his own play, but because of injuries and the Panthers, period.
Mm-hmm.
But just overall, Jackson Dart's at 5 and QB4.
Really quickly, Jackson Dart, really quickly. Jackson Dart, for me, has high-end backup written on him. Like that's where I see Jackson Dart from what I have watched.
And that's where I think this guy, that's where I think that kind of projects. QB5 in this class is kind of that early round 4 kind of projection right now before doing any deep dive tape study.
And really the big thing for him, and it's really going to be the big thing for anyone who plays under Lane Kiffin that you had mentioned, it is really hard to make the translation from the Lane Kiffin offense to whatever offense you're going to run in the NFL. I love Jackson Dart, but he has backup, high-end backup for me. But QB4, I'm excited to hear who this is because now I'm trying to think about who it could be, and really the only guy that comes to mind is someone who I know for a fact it isn't. So I'm interested to hear who this is.
He's not going to come out, nor should he probably come out. But it's a traits business in a weak quarterbacks class. I have Drew Aller at QB4, and I can't quit it. I don't know what it is. I think it's just the size. He's played a lot. It hasn't looked great, but it's the same thing as the McCarthy draft pick to me. It just get this guy in our building. He has the traits. He has, if we can mold him into what we want as a pocket passer, it can work. And I don't know. I think it's just if it's a traits business and this is the draft class again, just like Milroe. if this is the draft class I'm looking at, and I'm looking at, that middle of the second, something like that. Like I don't think he's a first round pick by any means. I don't think he comes out. Period. But just if we're ranking quarterbacks right now, and I'm doing the traits thing, Drew Aller has some of the best traits in the entire draft, and so that's the only reason I have him here. It's not because he's performed outstanding, but it's just because someone can get a hold of him, and he just puts it all together. The light bulb goes off, and it just works because the NFL has become more like the college game, making it more easy button friendly, like a Jaden Daniels is right now. And if he can put it together, then someone's going to reap the rewards. But again, he could be who was the Jets draft pick that was from Penn State, and it was just traits. And I could be wrong. He was another second rounder.
Christian Hackenberg.
That's who it. Yeah, it's just it could be another one of those situations, and I look like an idiot because he played at Penn State and wasn't good, but you took the traits and you failed. But if I take the traits and fail, I'm fine with that than failing on someone else. So those are my quarterbacks, and I wanted to reveal 4 for you because I know we've had talks about Aller.
Yes,
and I think your average fan on Sunday is going to watch Aller in a game this year, likely again. I think they play Ohio State. They don't play Michigan. He'll probably play against Ohio State, and if he looks bad again, then I might have to quit it because at some point it does you do have to play good in one of these fucking games. But I don't know.
Absolute sick work for me to forget Trey McBride's name. But remember Christian. Man, that's the thing. I see where you're coming from. Being 6'5", having the arm that he has, and again, by no means is he this elite athlete, but he is a high level athlete for being a guy that is 6'5". I'm not saying that he is even Jalen Milroe or whatnot, but I see where you're coming from. It's just it's a matter of traits versus what you're actually seeing on the field in terms of production. Yeah. So I can see why you have him there in terms of traits. Really, the last guy I wanted to acknowledge, and it's not really an acknowledgement because I think he deserves to be in the top 5, and really not even an acknowledgement because I think he deserves to be drafted. But it's really just me eating crow here at this point. Connor Wakeman. Oh my god, dude! You
shot a take in a bad draft class. I completely get it. I completely understand it.
It was he did.
But it's an Aggie, so I have to clown you. What were you
thinking? Oh, no, as you should. And then really quickly, the question that I had teased, and this is going to be really hard as we don't have the grades worked up yet and the full evals and everything, and it's only 4 or 5 games
into
the college football season.
This is not gospel. This is not set in stone.
But it's okay if you don't want to give me a definitive answer, because of it being just a check-in again and us not having the full evals worked up. Where would JJ rank in this class? Like, at what point are you a team in the first round and you're saying, I would rather trade my first round pick for JJ because the Vikings are going to be great and they're going to sign Sam Darnold and all that stuff that we had already mentioned. At what point do you say in this draft class, I'm going to take J.J. McCarthy over spending it on Shedeur Sanders, for example, or something? Where does he rank for you? Context dependent. Taking into the account that you only get 4 years, you don't get the 5th year out of him, so on and so forth.
See, it's hard because I didn't have him up near the top 3, and he went so high, and it kind of just drove everyone up. Like, I had it tiered. I had just Caleb, Drake, and then Jaden was kind of in this little mixture, and then the 3 others. Like, that's kind of how I saw it. But JJ would get driven up because of just age and overall, like, he's a winner, he's a leader, he's tough. kind of things like that. If I had to pick, he'd probably be in that Ewers Ward mixture because I'm taking into account everything. It just, again, it's weird because like knowing everything we know, he's coming off a meniscus tear. He's coming off it's one less year. You have to make a decision quicker on the 5th-year option. You only have 2 years instead of 3 to make a decision on him, on if he's your future. So overall, I'd probably pick in that mixture. So 15 to 20 pick range. Like I didn't have him as a first round graded player last year. Like it just came out that way. He's just he was a quarterback who won because of the strengths around him, and there were games where the Penn State game, he didn't have to throw the football. Like it was such a complicated eval, and this is even more of a complicated question because of everything we know about his knee and everything. So that's probably where I'd put him, but it's a fun conversation because if the Vikings continue to be good and win the division, win a playoff game, like he being Darnold could get the Daniel Jones contract, and all of a sudden you're making this decision like, why do we have to wait on when we got a guy who's capable of right now? If what we believe McCarthy's max could be is what Darnold's doing right now, kind of.
I agree.
Thought process. So that's a great question. That's a fun question.
Yes. No, I agree, and I'm like right there with you too. For me, I think I have made in that QB3-ish range. Obviously, we have it ranked a little bit different, but I have him in that Beck, probably somewhere in between Beck and Shedeur, because you don't have to deal with the Shedeur drama, but Beck offers that kind of that floor that maybe JJ had also offered, obviously to different variants and levels to that. But yeah, I think 15 to 20 is probably where I would put that at. But 2 hours and basically 12 minutes into this. Again, no shock. We say it every single time that you come on. Thank you for coming on. It always runs long. I will never complain that it runs long. It is always a very, very fun time having you come on. As you know, and as you've seen, you are always welcome on the podcast. Do you have any closing thoughts?
No, I mean this is a blast to talk quarterbacks. This was solely like this was my idea. Kind of talked you into it. I knew you'd be on board to talk the quarterbacks. My only closing thought is Ashton Jeanty. I don't know what we're gonna do with him because someone that I respect very highly, Dane Brugler of The Athletic, he compared him to LaDainian Tomlinson. And someone I respect so much doing that, and I've seen limited. I haven't seen like the tape, but like guys like
the game.
Like the running back, you only need the game. You don't need so much of the all 22. But he's so dynamic and so electric. Hearing his story that he passed on Power 5 offers to stay at Boise and just dominate everybody, and then dominated Oregon too, the best team he's going to play on the schedule, and the main question is like I feel like we're leaning towards a non-quarterback Heisman this year, and it's going to be Hunter or it's going to be Jeanty, and that's going to be really weird. I think those are the two guys right now for me.
I agree, and it's funny because at the beginning of the season, and I don't think it was necessarily targeted at Jeanty specifically, but we were having a conversation like, what would it take for a Heisman to be a group of 5 player? And we were like, we don't really think there a lot has to go right. It has to be a really bad QB place, and the Power 5 does not have to, or I guess at this point the Power 4 does not have to look super dominant, and this player has to absolutely blow their group of 5 competition out of the water. But through 5 games or 5 weeks of college football season, it's looked like that's what's kind of going on right now, and it looks like it might fall perfectly in place for him to maybe win the Heisman, man. And I am here for it. Again, I had said it a little bit. I mean, if Imagine if Harbaugh gets him in the draft.
Yeah. And especially the thing that's most fun about him is it's a weird draft class. You don't know what's good at the top. It's not like it's more of a depth foundational draft class rather than a top heavy talent like we did last year.
Yeah.
Like it's so fascinating for this guy. Like Bijan went 10 2 years ago. So it's teams are still in that mindset that if the guy is this good, the guy is that good, and we can grind him out of his rookie contract, grind everything out of him in that rookie contract. It is still worth it to draft those guys high, and I'm just so fascinated to see how his season ends. He's 13 touchdowns in 4 games. He's going to finish with 30 touchdowns and, like, over 2,000 yards. Like, that's high.
There's a stat that I saw that he alone has, like, is ranked has more rushing yards than like 81 like group of 5 and power 5 like programs. Like the entire team, he has more yards than.
I saw odds.
So fun.
I saw odds for him against Utah State this week. To score 3 touchdowns, it's minus 155. There's not even value on a guy scoring 3 touchdowns. That is how scared the market is to lose money on this guy right now. Like,
yep,
it's fun.
he's one heck of a player. Again, he's going to be one of the really interesting storylines to follow, along with the other guy that you mentioned in Travis, and what he's going to do at the NFL level when it comes to playing both ways and whatnot. But that really seems like a conversation that could also go on for probably 35 minutes to an hour. But again, thank you so much for coming on. Again, guys, if you guys like Matt, where can they find you at? Let me get this out of here.
Yeah, I mean, just on Twitter, mhart.fb, TikTok doing play of the week, m4tt.oh, it's always fun. Doing that, probably gonna find one right now for the play of the week, but yeah, I mean that's where you can find me if you care about my opinions, if you want to, say bad things and disagree with my takes and say, I still have Carson Beck QB1, you're wrong for having Milrow. Come shoot it. I'm always ready to talk ball.
We love you too. Yes, we're about to get out of here. Yes, again, absolutely go and follow Matt on he plays or he picks a play of the week from the slate of games. He kind of breaks it down. Really good content. 4.5 weeks. He added that co-host label, as he should at this point, with how often he comes on. But expect to see him, more throughout the season, and then obviously as the draft process starts picking up, when the season is coming to an end, that is really when me and Matt shine. So, again, thank you, Matt, for coming on. We'd like to thank our sponsors at Regional Radio Sports Network. Ryan calls games, produces games there every Friday. You guys can go and find him. Uppercuts Grooming and Spotify for podcasters. Thank you guys, and we will see you next week.